Thank you, Mr. Jonas. Today I have genuinely the honor of introducing to the world Mr. Asher Black. Asher has been in the business now for right under 5 years. And if you look at his numbers, you would have no idea. So I'm gonna tell you just numbers. Numbers don't lie. 2022 was his first full year. He did 53 by himself for 20 million. 2023 went to 98 for 40 million. Last year, 170 for 70 million. And he just corrected me a second ago. He's over 200 for 87 million this year. It's consistency, it's coachability, it's accountability, and it's consistently what I see from Asher is the consistency to want to get better constantly and always being a student. So this is the Alex Hermosi of real estate, Mr. Asher Loren Black.
Ooh, Loren. A
Yeah.
little flair on the middle name. It's actually Lauren, but we'll take Loren today. It sounds a little cooler. Guys, excited to be here, and I'm not sure if we've got the option to do this, and I'm actually going to look. We'll try it real time. Can people make comments here? Like, can we see in a chat? Is that possible?
Yep, absolutely. Chris can pull up that chat screen or tell me.
Awesome.
Yep, they're saying hello to you right now. Can you
Look
see
at
that?
that.
Perfect.
Awesome. So, guys, this is going to require a little bit more engagement. So, if you're playing this while you're driving or maybe not paying a lot of attention, you may not want to be on this, truly. But we're going to loop in a lot more engagement. And the reason really is because, okay, we get three people. Let's go. We got three out of 67. Okay, four. We're counting up. Good. We're in the right trajectory here. Main goal is this, guys. I don't believe in going over anything or sharing anything that is not A, tactical, and B, can be implemented as soon as today. So really my goal is to split this time together that we've got, and I know it's valuable because you guys are all making money. You've got things to do, so I'm grateful you're spending a piece of it today with me. And I want to make sure that I can give back the value that you guys have earned plus some for spending time here. So the first section of this time together, the first 20, 30, whatever ends up being minutes, let's talk about some things that I'm doing that's working really well. Love to share a couple new perspectives to maybe some lead generation, some new perspectives with what do we do for our database? How do we maximize it? Or anyone that has already given us the thumbs up and allowed us to work for them. And then what are some just good practices that we can implement? And then what I'd like to do, which is again why I wanted this chat up and running, and thank you everybody who's already chatting in it, is I wanted to kind of add some specific implementation. So if anyone wanted to hop on at the second half and just have a conversation, maybe after we've gone through some of these tactics, you had questions on how you can specifically implement it. That's what this time today is here for. So without further ado, really the first thing that I wanted to talk through is a lead generation pillar and prefacing, guys, with the fact that nothing I'm going to say today is just outlandishly shiny and something that nobody's ever heard, but really, because that doesn't exist. Really, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the basics and we're going to double down on them and maybe add a new flair or lens that might cause you guys to be a little bit more inspired and have a little bit more direction with it. So, in the chat, because again, that's how I'm gauging who's listening and has got their screen up or not. If I could tell you about a way where you could spend $500 and then, in this case that I just split tested, secure as much as 50, 60, 70, 80, 100,000 in GCI, is that something you'd be open to hearing more about? And I will wait. This is where you say yes, by the way. Awesome. Perfect. Who has heard of a golden letter? If you've heard of a golden letter, put a one in the chat. Awesome. So something that for context, I built my business on cold outbound, which is really a fancy term for making cold calls and knocking on doors and really just putting a lot of brute force into, making it a contact sport where the more people I talk to, the higher likelihood I had and the higher opportunity I had to be able to earn people's trust. And that's great. And I think there's really no way to work around that. You know, it's as one of my favorite people says, volume negates luck. And that's one of the things where you can turn up the dial and the heat as much as you're willing to have new conversations. And as I've kind of reflected over the first couple of years of doing that, something that's worked really well, and I saw a couple people say no, they didn't know what the golden letter is, and no worries, I'll go over it here in a second, has been trying to maximize both in time and money. So one of the things that I've done is step one for this. So if anyone's taking notes, you're going to want to note this lead generation strategy. Step one, I see people with their pens and papers. Good job. Step one, you want to identify either one of your own, or, I mean, guys, I started this by identifying a buyer of someone's in my office. So either step one, identify a client that you have that maybe is, again, fancy term, your ideal client avatar, which effectively means it's the type of buyer you want to work with a price point you like and an area you like. So, for example, here in Chattanooga, if you said, hey, I love buyers that already have a home and maybe they're upsizing to a new home, I'd love to help. Again, there's a little city here called Ottawa. Love to help buyers looking around $500,000 in Ottawa. Then you would either find that one in your own database, or it's as simple as if you don't have a database big enough, go ask some agents in your office. Most offices have like a Facebook group or something equivalent. Ask someone in your office, hey, does anyone have a buyer looking in the $500,000 range in Ottawa? That's step one. Identify a legitimate buyer that has needs that you can communicate to. And then if it's another agent, I always like to ask, hey, would you hate the idea if maybe I found a home that was not yet on the market that could be a really good fit for your client? And if anyone says no to that, I would be shocked, but most people are like, absolutely, Asher, if you produce an opportunity that they can't see and it makes me look better as an agent to be able to throw that up on a golden platter, that's phenomenal. So that's step one. Step two is now you're going to identify maybe a neighborhood or a section of that city. And there's lots of tools to do this. I'll give you an example of how cost effective and simple it can be. If someone's looking in the Main Street neighborhood, for example, then what you can do is you can go to your tax records and you can go to the prospecting function. And within that, you can circle that neighborhood, circle that area, and then you can export. It's that simple. So now, again, just to catch us up to what we're doing so far, we identified someone who is a buyer who raised their hand and said, hey, I've got the money, I've got the interest, and a reasonable motivation and timeline to move into this neighborhood. Now we've exported a list of people that all live in that neighborhood. And now here's where the magic comes. The magic comes, and you're absolutely right, Matt. I see that comment there. It is smart. The magic comes with the golden letter. And this is really something that, some people ask me, Asher, would you change it? Would you tweak it? Truly, the answer is no, because if it's not broken, I don't really want to try to fix it or mess something up, honestly. And this golden letter is so simple. It literally reads, Dear, and it auto-populates the first name of the homeowner. Dear homeowner, would you sell your house to a client of ours? If so, call me on my cell phone at 123456789. And then you have, again, get with your local compliance. For us, we've got to have our cell phone, our office number, and then our company. So I'm with Keller Williams. And it is that simple. Once you do that, you can have all those, starting out if you want it to be really just cost effective, then what I would recommend doing, the tax records is free, so you can pull all the data for free. The buyer is free, hopefully, right? You just go to someone in your office or maybe already have one. And now you can pen and paper. I mean, that's, a couple dollars. Go ahead and get that. Get some stamps, right? Some envelopes. And relatively speaking, it's fairly cheap. And if you're starting out, you can just handwrite all these notes. That's a lot more time. But again, it's depending on if you want to sacrifice time or money. At this point, I've actually got a service that does it all for me. So I just export the letter and it's a lot easier. But then once you've got that and you've addressed those letters, then you just send them out. And when I first heard this, I thought, this sounds too good to be true. I feel like everyone looks for this one object, this one golden star, and there's a catch. And, the catch here is, I would say, if you feel like you're behind on your ability to convey value or maybe understand sales framework, which by the way, doesn't mean you can just handle objections well. It means you understand the right questions to ask and when to ask them. If you've got a general gauge on that, this will work. I'll give you an example. We had a client that, actually a couple that we procured. I listed a home in a neighborhood where we got multiple offers. It's in Flagstone here in Ottawa. Multiple offers on that home. And then as a byproduct, we had multiple buyers that had offered, and obviously multiple of them cannot purchase the home. So now we had four extra clients that came to us through our marketing for this property that said, "Hey, Asher, I want to be in this neighborhood." So we got their permission. Of course, you want to have a signed buyer rep so that you can never be accused of just falsely sending these letters. And then we sent it to the whole neighborhood. And the goal of this, guys, is not listings. The goal is to turn one opportunity into maybe two. But if as a byproduct, there are people you can serve and help that maybe A, the folks you've got are not the right fit for, or B, maybe they just want a different strategy altogether. There's a lot of doors that begin to open. So, want to give you guys some numbers because this sounds cool, but Asher, does it actually work? So, I spent, a couple $100 on this for a neighborhood of 400 homes, sent them all out. I had, and the cool thing is, guys, it's inbound phone calls. So I had people calling my cell phone, and I had 15 phone calls. So 15 people that reached out and said, "Hey, I got your letter. Is it legit? Tell me about your client," right? Getting a little bit just curious about what we offered. And of the 15, I met with 13 of them and had a couple clients of the initial that have been able to see those homes. We're under contract on a couple. And of the 13 I've met with, we've signed agreements with all of them. And it's been great. Because again, it's weird what I've found just on the minimal split testing I've done. A third of these people would only entertain your buyer, which is great. That's why you have a real buyer on the front end. Another third of these people just want to sell, and they don't really care if it's listing or if it's through your buyer or maybe something else. And then I'd say another fifth of them are, and I see some questions, I'll kind of walk through them all at the end of this segment, but another fifth of them are just a little bit skeptical and maybe they're a little bit more of a nurture opportunity, which I would define as somebody who's looking in the next 12 months who would be open to something like that. And then you're going to get maybe a small percentage, single digits, that were just wondering how you got their address or something. And then you can share that it was public record. So the goal of this, when we look at a hidden lead generation opportunity, right, which is what I promised to share with you guys, is to turn one client, or if you don't have a client and someone in your office is gracious enough to share the client that they have and their information, not literally share the client, but share the opportunity that client can yield, then the opportunity becomes turning one into maybe two, three, four, five, or 13 opportunities, right? And just so you guys know from a purely data-driven standpoint, I mean, this costs a couple $100. You get inbound calls. Of course, you got time of going on these different appointments and meeting and serving these customers. But, mine was over 200,000 in potential, right? GCI that was signed. So when I think of an opportunity in terms of lead generation, because I've done so much cold outbound, cold calling and door knocking, I was like, I want something a little bit more coming to me where I can use the same skill set of conversion. And that's why I landed on Golden Letters. So, got a couple questions real quick I will answer before we pivot. And again, guys, all these questions and thoughts I'm really going to address on the back half and want it to be interactive. That way I can offer the most value for you guys through this process. So, handwritten letters or postcard work, there is some value for the handwritten. Again, I haven't split tested postcards, but based on the psychology element, which I can dive in later with you, Matt, on why it's an envelope, it's because it looks handwritten on the front end and it's something they've got to open, and really we're looking for an open rate, and then once they open it, it's the call to action just tends to be a lot higher, and the success with that. In terms of how often I'm doing these, really I've only done probably maybe 8 now. And it's mostly because I don't want to break all the servicing and delivery mechanisms in the team that I've got. So I'm kind of just split testing, really trying to be a good steward of understanding the different levers to pull here. That way I understand ultimately how do I maximize in the right areas. So that is just a recap on a lead generation lever we've been working. That guys, it's been exceptional, and I just gave you the numbers on one of the, one of the few letters that we sent out, and it had great results. Um, Number two, and I see some more questions, as you're getting questions, let's just hang tight for about halfway through. And I'd love to collaborate with each of you and just make sure that we can talk, okay, what does implementing this for you look like? So number two is what are some daily habits that really maybe help fund a higher level of sales? And without sounding like a broken record, simplicity's key. And one of my least favorite things that I learned early on from experience was the sales roller coaster. And essentially what that was I would start here. If you imagine a roller coaster, I would start at the bottom. I would make all my calls. I would do all my lead generation activities, and I'd start to get more interest, more clients. And then as I got to the top, that's where now I got in the thick of servicing, where I was doing the negotiations. I was doing the coordination. I was doing the seller updates, right? Whatever that may be. And as a byproduct, the roller coaster starts to go down. So now you're in service mode and you've got to ramp back up and build up. If anybody has ever felt like either their business was inconsistent or they were on the sales roller coaster where they went lead generation heavy, then they got busy serving, and then they just kept going through that, put a one in the chat. And if I'm the only one, then I'm a little embarrassed. Okay, I've got multiple people. Perfect. Yeah. So the sales roller coaster is pretty terrible. I don't particularly know anyone that loves the sales roller coaster. And when we look at solutions and we look at, okay, what is just a really simple, and when I say simple, that doesn't mean it's easy, but it means it's really repeatable. What is a simple structure and process that we can have that prevents that? Right? Because when you look at other businesses that are not commission based, they can project and foreshadow consistent appreciation. And that's what we're looking for. So the simple schedule that it really isn't that hard. And I've had the privilege now of, as I'm bringing people on my team, helping multiple people use this schedule, and all of them their first year make over six figures. And it's phenomenal. And it's really this. We have a rule on our team. You get in the office by 7:45. From 8 a.m. until 10 a.m., this distraction box we've got, which is also a money box if you use it, is off. It's on do not disturb. You don't respond to any clients. You don't do anything except generate new opportunities. So that is a rule in our office. If you are responding, then it's you get put to shame. But from 8 to 10, we're generating new opportunities to serve new clients. And on our team, that just so happens to be a lot of outbound phone calls. So maybe expired listings, canceled listings, circle dialing. It's a lot of the phone just to uncover new opportunities. From 10 to 10:15, we have a break. Use the bathroom, whatever you need to do there. Return a couple calls if they're super urgent. And then we like to follow up with maybe some past leads from 10:15 until 11. And then really from 11 to 12, I let them then, I say, hey guys, let's really make sure we're connecting with our clients and serving them well, setting the expectation and making sure we're being proactive to any deadlines. And one of the reasons, I was chatting with another agent the other day and they said, Asher, look, this doesn't work because my clients are not hearing from me and, it's 9 a.m. and they're like, hey, are you not working yet? One of the reasons that our clients have actually really thanked us for having this structure and this schedule is because number one, we're really intentional on the front end when we're meeting with them and we're discussing what working together looks like, because they know in the morning, people on my team, myself included, we're turning this thing off so that we can find buyers for their home. We're turning it off so we can find new sellers. And ultimately, we are creating more deal flow. And I've never had anyone not really appreciate and respect that. It only becomes a problem when they don't have that expectation. And then you're like, why is this person blowing me up? Well, it's because you as the agent didn't do a great job in making sure you're setting the right expectation. So that's just a little asterisk to this schedule. It all works great if you set the right expectation. However, if you don't, then you're going to get clients that are maybe upset, and that's on you. That's a personal responsibility opportunity. So then really those are the requirements for my team. And if they decide to do more lead generation or appointments or closings or whatever they want to do, that's the back half of the day. It's super simple. And really, when it comes to looking at the back half, I leave that totally up to them and how they want to structure it. And my job is I just hold them accountable to the front half because the front half is what prevents this. Everyone that has this neglects the front half. And it's not like the only magic sauce if you do it in the front half. However, there is significant data that shows, if you've read the book, Eat the Frog, knock it out in the morning, the likelihood of you actually falling through skyrockets. And now there's a lot more flexibility because you're really done with your work by noon. And then you can go meet with new clients or service new clients or build a system or a process or something else. So the schedule it's incredibly simple. It really is. It's just not really fun to follow through with. 10, 15 to 12 calls are a mix of we follow up with other leads. Darren, I saw that comment there. And that's basically where, hey, if you generated a lead a week, two, three, four, five, I'm following up with leads I generated 4 years ago. That's just a touch point there. So that's the time where we do those calls that if you've got a CRM and it reminds you of the tasks for the day, that's where we're really intentional. We draw back and make sure that none of those get missed. Because again, the fortunate is quite literally, in fact, in the follow-up most of the time, especially if you're maybe learning to get a better skill set and conversion rates. So we talked, what's a cool lead generation pillar or avenue? That would be the golden letter system with real buyers. And then just what is the really overly simple and not particularly flashy schedule that helps you avoid this roller coaster. Now, the last thing is, once you've done those two things well, you've got a lot of new clients coming in, and then you've got, a lot of people that are converting to closed clients. What is the process now of being able to maximize this great bucket of people that have already had a great experience with you? They've already bought a home, they've already sold a home, maybe invested in a property. How do we make sure that there's longevity there? Because a lot of the people that get on this trajectory and it's very sales focused, there's a lot of failure in building it like a business. And the simple way of how you define that is if each one of you guys left, and I do not have a business yet, by the way, by this definition, if each one of you guys left for, I know that there's a lot of solo agents, but left for a couple months, would you continue to get leads and continue to grow and build upon that? Answer is, for me, it's no, it wouldn't. It still requires me. So the way that I'm trying to mitigate and solve for that piece that requires me is through continually nurturing and not letting the deal die at the closing table, but really just letting that be a chapter turn to maximize the experience and service past them. Some things I'm looking at Chris, he's right there. Some things that Chris and I have actually been able to collaborate on together, which has been awesome, is, being really intentional with client events. So that's just a simple way. And I can already hear a lot of you guys going, oh crap, I don't want client events. They're not everyone's cup of tea. However, everyone loves being invited to something, right? So you've kind of got to get out of your own selfish shoes and go, okay, hey, worst case, I don't think they'll appreciate yeah, they will. Worst case, invite everyone, and it's a great value offering reason for them to see your name, number one. Number two, it gets them back belly to belly, face to face, and continues to build on that relational aspect that ultimately drives more repeat business and more referrals. And that's just another way that, we like to on our client events, and Chris knows because we've done this multiple times, is we like to then encourage and offer some kind of incentive for someone to bring a family member or a friend that then we get to make sure they're registered appropriately so that we get their information, we log them in our CRM, and we get like-minded people to be brought into our world. So that is a phenomenal way to really maximize on the people you've already served. You can 2, 3, 4x that pool of people by simply hosting these client events that are exciting and fun and, give back to them in a way where they're able to then bring their own friends, their own family. And the amount of times that we've had people come into our events and go, hey, this is awesome. I've never heard of a realtor doing things like this or something to that effect. It's high. And then when they go to make a decision, they reach out to us. And it's super cool and special and really a privilege to be able to bring them in our world. So that would be one thing that is more leaning into the law of reciprocity, which what that means for just kind of easy translation there. It's if you give something to someone, the law of reciprocity suggests that now they feel like they want to give back to you. So we really want to just offer a lot of value and give these things to them. And then a more passive thing that we do with our database that works really well, and I'll give you a number here in a second, is we just have some kind of consistent email cadence. And I wouldn't overcomplicate it. Something's better than nothing. Think of if you were them and you wanted to receive something in the mail, what would you want to receive? Like if you were to get an email, what would cause you to open it? What would cause you to care about it and not block them forever and put them in mail jail? So that's the lens I like to see through it. So something we've done is it's called the deal of the week. So you can get your own listing, or if maybe you don't have any listings, you can ask another agent, hey, do you mind if I market your listing? And all marketing is good marketing most of the time, right? It's more exposure. So they should say yes. And then you just do a quick deal of the week. The subject line is deal of the week dash, Ottawa City or wherever that's at. You just give a quick, hey, just want to give you a quick property we've got coming to market. Hit 3 different bullet points for that property. And by the way, I don't include any pictures. I don't include the address. I just include a couple characteristics that I really want to use that would help identify if someone's even remotely interested. And then if they are, then I leave it vague enough to where I pique curiosity. And then at the end of that, I just have a quick call to action. Reply to this email if you want more information. Just shot one out to my database. I actually just started this within the last little bit. And the first time I did it, I had like 23, or no, it's 33 people reach out to me. They all wanted information. And what's cool is I started to identify, holy cow, I had no clue any of these people were wanting to buy a home. And I even sent it to all my leads too. Like people I've been nurturing. Anyone in my CRM, I just blasted it to. And I had 33 people reach out and immediately responded with phone calls to all of them. And I set appointments with like 22 of them. And it was great. And it was either for the purchasing side or the sale side. And while that's not going to happen every week, and it would be crazy if it did, it's really just a value offering touch point that piques a little bit of curiosity. They continue to see your name and they continue to associate you as the market expert. So that is something that we're doing right now that is in this market and all the craziness that is really just causing a lot of people to have interest in what we're doing, and it prevents getting blocked on email because there's a lot of scammy emails that we all block. So just kind of zooming out, recap, and then I really would love to open this up for some open Q&A and maybe where I can help navigate some of these specifics with each of you or anyone that has a question. Recap is number one. Hidden lead gen source is this letter where you come in with a real live customer or client that you are just leveraging them to send an honest letter to a neighborhood that has similar properties. And then you're getting inbound calls from people that would like to sell their home. And then you compare the buyer with the seller, and it's a happy day. That's number one. Number two, the schedule is really simple. Just get your lead generation, and I don't care what, it doesn't matter if it's cold call, it doesn't matter if it's social media. There's no special sauce. The only thing that does not create special sauce is if you do nothing or you're inconsistent with what you do. So whatever you do, just have some consistent cadence so you avoid the roller coaster, right? And then the final thing is how do we continue to offer a good mix of value for people that are coming into our world and really giving us this trust? That'd be a mix of events and then also just a more passive touch and maybe a more broad touch than events would be. Let's just keep them up to date with an email of what's going on, highlight some properties, and worst case, someone sees a great property. So, without further ado, love to just open up and you guys can communicate via chat or I don't know how Jonas wants to coordinate this. I'll kind of cue you, Jonas, if you want to maybe give some instruction on the best way to navigate this moving forward.
So, guys, if you would like to talk to Asher, either put it in the screen. Do they have the raise the hand quality on here? No, they do not. So, either put it in the chat screen and we can go one down one. Um, Asher, the big one on the front from Justin is on your calls from 8 to 10 are different categories. Are they different categories or are they same every day, like Monday expired, Tuesday, FISBOs, etc.?
Hmm. Good question, Justin. So it's really going to be a little dependent on what your leads sources are. So, for my team, for example, we like to have, two to three different lead sources that we really want to double down on. So, for example, if you were doubling down on your expireds and your FISBOs, then you would do both of them every day. So whatever those lead sources are, doing them every day is going to be really critical.
The next one says, what verbiage do you use on the golden letter to get them to open it?
So, Amy, are you asking on the actual envelope or are you asking something else? I want to make sure I answer the right question here.
Amy, are you still on here? Go ahead and take yourself off mute, my friend.
Got it. On the envelope. Yeah, so it's really simple. It is their name with a normal white envelope, and I actually don't do a return address just because I think it's annoying to if there's a lot of letters that don't deliver, I don't want to deal with that. So I just do their name and their address and a stamp. That's it.
You got that one, Asher? Can you go over again how you get the names and addresses for a neighborhood?
Yeah, certainly. So our tax records, and everyone's in a different market, but this is true across most markets. I identify first the neighborhood, and then if you go into your tax records section, so ours is called CRS tax data, then you can enter a prospecting function where you essentially circle the area that you're looking to send these letters to, and then you can export it, which basically means you can pull all that information, it pops onto a spreadsheet, and then you can clean it up a little bit.
Any other questions, guys? You feel free to put them in the chat screen.
And I think one from Bradley got missed. He said real
Oh,
estate
thank
theme
you.
day should, yeah, be Mondays, VIPs, Tuesday transaction updates. I think he may have been answering the question above. And I'll let Jonas, just for ease, I'll let you read the rest of them. Don't know if
Got
they're all
it.
good.
I just caught Bradley's answer there. So next one, do you ever segment neighborhood letters further down into renters, sellers not on the property?
That's a good question. We have not. However, I know there's a lot of ways to tweak and get really granular with the strategy behind sending it. At this point, we haven't. We've just pushed volume, and that's been a really helpful lever to do. That being said, there may be a time later down the road where we do maybe do more of a niche approach with that, but we haven't yet.
Marjorie says you can also use RPR for, or excuse me, yeah, RPR for the addresses.
That's right. Yep.
We got a quick question.
Can you, oh, I hear a voice.
It is me. I don't know why my camera's not working.
Go right ahead.
So we got a question that came in on my end that just says, hey, if you don't have a buyer ready, do you still recommend sending the golden letter?
Never. But good news is this. If you don't have a client yourself, that's where I'd like to go to somebody in my office that maybe you do know of that has clients like the ones you're trying to work with. Get approval, and I like to have something just in writing, just for simplicity's sake, that authorizes you to go find something off market on their behalf.
Thank you.
Asher, Chris wants to know, can you post a copy of that letter or can we get a copy of your letter?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll give it to you and Chris, and you guys can disperse it to the list of people how you want.
Absolutely. Asher, to clarify, you handwrite the address on the envelope, but the letter itself is printed, correct?
Starting out, depending, there's multiple ways to go about this. I would let it be a little dependent on how much money you're willing to invest in this. If you want the cheapest route possible, and there's also a level of effectiveness with this as well, then I would do handwritten everything. If, somebody looked at me and said, Asher, hey, I really just want it the most automated way possible, in a way where we could ultimately just get as much volume out, I would not handwrite anything, and you can get different third-party services that will do it all handwritten, but it just costs more money. So it's really going to be dependent, Chris, on if you're hoping to save more time or save more money, or maybe a mix of both.
Asher, what are your top three prospecting categories?
So right now, and it's shifted a little bit over the last few years, but right now I am being super intentional with buyer leveraging. So I'll do either like some different marketing spend. I've done a little bit of Facebook ads to maybe find a buyer that fits the type of clientele that I want to use these letters for. So that's one. So buyer leveraging these letters. Number two would be expired slash canceled listings. And that's as simple as in the morning, just picking up the phone and calling them real time. And then the third one that I'm really trying to now pour into is past clients.
Any other big questions, guys? You got one of the best in the country sitting here willing to open up his playbook. Hit us. What's your focus for past clients?
So the goal that I'm looking to do here is really offer a ton of value and stand out. And the way that we're doing that, I see Justin there, is we're really breaking it out into once a month, we're doing an email if they're not on the weekly email. Once a month, they're getting some kind of mailer, which most of the time will be just like a prequel or something initial prompting the events we've got coming up. Or maybe just a happy anniversary or birthday. We've got all that integrated into our CRM to try to really make it a little bit more intentional. And then obviously we've got our quarterly events where that's a big touch point. And then depending on what tier of client, right? Depending on the production or the amount of volume they've spent with us, that'll upgrade them into different tiers. And for example, we'll do like VIP boxes or something of that effect to really just drive home, hey, we really appreciate you. They're giving them, us a bunch of referrals or just continually doing high dollar activities with us.
Asher, how many of your clients are referrals from previous clients? How do you suggest them getting listings without a golden letter?
Okay. Transparently, this is going to be a number off the top of my head because I have not yet sourced the past year. Uh, Before this year, it was a very low amount of repeat referral clients. This year, I would probably say we're a little over 200 units year to date. We're probably 17 or 18% repeat referral this year, and we're just now starting to implement all these things. So we've done some events this past year just to kind of give us initial inertia for nurturing these past people, but we're really expecting a lot larger conversion here going into next year.
Asher, Sharon wants to know what are examples of your quarterly events?
Yeah, so we actually really split tested about 10 this past year. So we use this as the year to really pull back the rubber band in order and with efforts to launch forward. So of the split tested ones, the ones that made the cut for next year, again, the whole goal was to blast out 10 this year, and then we'll do four of the best ones next year. We're going to do there's a local baseball team where we rent out a whole section there. We have food catered. It's a really fun time. It's a mix of indoors and outdoors. So people have AC and all that stuff. That's really convenient. That's worked really well because it's just something where we can be really intentional and have conversations with people. But also it's not like awkward in the interim because there's a game going on that people can watch. So that's number one. Number two, we do something it's like a social area for us that has a bowling alley and common space and tables and games and stuff, and we'll rent that out. Southside Social is what it's called in our market. And that's another just free food. We've got games and activities, but really the gold there is being hyper intentional and talking to as many people as you can. Just being very appreciative of A, the opportunity that they gave you to earn their business and work for them, and then B, just get a quick catch up, because what we'll do is I'll make notes on my phone as I'm going through, and if I spoke to Barbara or Thomas or Bobby, and they had significant things going on, I'd write that down in a note, and then I'd have my assistant send them handwritten notes. That way they really felt seen at our event. Did a movie, rented out a whole movie theater, went really well. There was actually a lot of fun conversation after the fact. Set a couple appointments from that, so there was also a good ROI. And then the next one we're looking to do on the tail end will be something we're actually doing this Saturday, which is Pictures with Santa.
Asher, have you ever looked into conversational AI to invite past clients to your events?
I have dabbled in it a little bit, but I'm not smart enough to have used it yet.
How many team members for the 200 units?
So the 200 units are made out of really myself and one of my agents, Grant. And we had an agent that had a baby mid-year, so she did just a couple. And then I've got one other guy that I just hired a couple months ago that's done a couple as well. So the majority is me and one other agent. And then we've got an agent that had a baby that did a handful or so, and then about a handful or so from a new guy we've got.
Asher, do you call or text your past clients asking for referrals? Can you show us what the dialogue sounds like?
Yeah, so I don't call them asking for referrals. I really just give them value throughout the time that we're working together. Oftentimes, text is not the mode of operation for these, what I believe are like higher level of intentionality conversations. So I'll call the clients and then I'll just invite them. And, if you're really wanting a referral from someone, or, what we found a lot of success with, if you're trying to just open up that conversation intentionally and you don't want to let it be something that evolves naturally, because there is a balance between asking and then just providing so much value that they feel obligated, then what could work really well is just asking them about what their goals are for the next year. And then, of course, they're going to ask you after, and then you can start to spin that in a more natural way. I personally just want to give as much value as possible, and I'm not in any huge level of urgency to have it returned.
Asher, how is your back end or administration or admin structured?
It's intense. We're very ops heavy, and that's why we've got really two main people that make up all these units. I've got a listing coordinator, and she's client facing. Her name's Mary. She's exceptional. And once I get the signed paperwork, I will just give it to her with our communication cadence, expectations. We've got a little plan of action, and then she onboards the clients and really takes it from that point to drafting the listing live, going live, helping service it while it's live. And then once it goes under contract, I've got a listing under contract manager named Lindsay who really takes it through that part. And I'm in group chats. We'll have like a new listing group chat with their address just for communication, so that really they can service the clients and I can go get new business. And then once we go under contract, we'll have an under contract group chat, that address. And Lindsay will really be the face of it through the whole process as well. I've got one just general assistant that helps fill in gaps there. I've got a full-time photographer on salary. And then the final thing, I've got a chief of staff who manages those four people, holds them accountable, tracks their KPIs, and his one of his key responsibilities is helping run P&L and really implementing the vision that we're looking to do. If we've got new lead levers or something of that effect, he assists in putting to paper the ideas that I have.
So, Asher, I'm going to hit you with a left-handed question. I have a couple of students on here and some agents who are right around your age group. You are 24 years old, correct, sir?
I am.
If I'm doing my math correctly, that means you started when you were 19.
I did. Yep.
What do you say to the young person out there who keeps telling me, Jonas, they don't take me seriously because of my age, or it's very hard to catch on at the age we're starting? I'm staring at living proof of someone who is 24 years old, who's one of the top in the country. How do you combat that, or do you even ever deal with it?
You want my just brutal answer? Or do you want me to
Please,
like
amen.
water it
Hit us.
down?
Say it
Age
again.
doesn't matter at all. And one of the things that I believe it, if it's impressive because of my age, it's not impressive in general. Um, and when I started out, you'll get some of those questions like, "Hey, how long you been doing this for?" At the start, if you don't seem confident and you don't seem like you know what you're doing, I've had nobody ask my age or care about that in several years. It just doesn't matter. So the solution is make sure you're just oozing confidence when you're there and know what you're talking about. If you've got those two things, no one gives a crap how old you are. They just care if you can solve the problem. So present yourself in a way where you can actually solve the problem, and you're not going to get that objection. So if you're getting that, it's either you're not confident enough or you don't know enough. So then the action item is go be more confident, and confidence comes by having more knowledge. So go learn what you're missing out on or how to solve it, and you'll present better.
Thank you. Guys, we got about 10 more minutes. Any more questions? Asher, any last thoughts for us? Looks like we have about 10 more minutes of your time. Anything else you would like to cover, or should we get him out of here?
Well, that's a good question. Chris, was there anything knowing my business and having worked together that you feel like may be helpful to put a bookend on here? Did we fairly well cover it? I've got Chris right
Um,
here.
I think the daily habits piece is a big portion of the business that is not overly complicated,
Yeah.
and yet everybody can implement it if they want to. Like Asher, you started with you're at the office at 7:45. What are you doing before that?
I mean, yeah, I'm up by 4:45, going to the gym, working out, doing a little devotion in the morning, hanging out with my wife a little bit, and then heading to the office. So that's the everyday routine, 7 days a week.
And I think it seems so, oh well, he's one of those guys, or it's so boring. And I mean, it's a brick by brick approach. Like you can look at your numbers and see they consistently moved up and doubled, and it's because you were consistent with sales producing activity. And whether you're a loan officer or a realtor, oftentimes what happens is we get really distracted with emails or um,
Yeah.
responding to something that is not time sensitive or not doing a great job on the front end, being really consistent with the expectations, like you talked about with clients on the front end. They don't expect to be able to get in contact with you before a
Yeah.
certain amount of time. And I mean, that is something that is controllable.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure.
All right, boys, we want to thank you very, very. Oh, one last question. Asher, how much social media do you do?
Uh, I probably had social media deleted for half my career. I think the most I tried doing it for I was challenged for like a month to post some videos, posted some videos for a month, and I was like, this just isn't me. So I'd rather go pound the phone. And then what I do that I feel like is the bare minimum is every time or not every time, just if I sign a listing and I think it's cool, I will just get my phone out and do a quick video and then just put some music behind it, put coming soon, whatever city it's in, and maybe a couple highlights. I'll blast that off. Not super often, and oddly enough, we're actually looking to hire someone that's going to be full-time social media on salary as well. So we're going to add to that salary count for someone of that caliber.
Asher, in a smaller hometown type market, are there any adjustments you would make to this process?
Which process specifically? I'll make
Scott,
sure
you
I'm.
want to take yourself off of mute and answer it?
Jonas Scott's in Klamath Falls, right? Isn't that about
Yep, he is.
100,000?
He may not be there, but it's a small town in Oregon, and he's just wondering if you would make any adjustments to your processes coming from a smaller town.
So I'll kind of answer it real quick because I don't know. Oh, prospecting. No, not at all. Yeah, I wouldn't change anything. I mean, I grew up from in a town where there was not even 1,000 people, farm town in the middle of nowhere. And, I've got some friends who have implemented the same things and they absolutely blow up. Actually, I think it stands out more in small towns and there's a lot more opportunity for word of mouth. So I'd say that there is a huge advantage actually for people in a small town. They're able to really, wherein, for example, a larger city, we're not even a large city, but like in larger cities, it's so much harder to create a wave, right, worth anything. But if you're in a smaller town, you have 10 listings, it's all of a sudden just a huge amount of the poll, and then word goes around. So I wouldn't do anything different. I would just, in my mind, Scott, I would oversimplify it with the truth that this is a contact sport. Does not matter how you get the contacts. Either pick up the phone, door knock people, do open houses, do social. It doesn't matter. It's a contact sport. More contacts you have, the more success you'll have. There's literally a direct correlation.
Hey,
Any
Dennis.
last questions? Oh, go ahead,
Yeah,
Chris. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna ask Asher a question because I know the answer to it. A couple things. One is, we talk about, he just said contact sport. There he just named off several different ways that you can contact. The thing that people are most afraid of is the one that's actually the most easiest, or that is the easiest and costs the less, which is picking up the phone. Okay. And then just to segment into that. So picking up the phone, it's not that hard, but people don't want to do it because they're going to have an objection to overcome. And so, Asher, my question to you is, when you first got in the business and you just picked up the phone, how often did you fail and for how long? And is failure a prerequisite for success?
100%. Yeah. So I, vulnerability here, guys. I think I like actually threw up multiple times the whole first few months I was calling because I was a new kid in the middle of nowhere, had never done any type of real world job. And I just kept calling people that told me to kill myself all day. And I was like, this is depressing. So it took a long time to pick up momentum. And actually, moral of maybe that is don't call from the yellow pages because it's all the old cranky people. Use some more data or tech-driven things. So pro tip for anyone who's thought about calling, that way you can totally nix that first section I did. But yeah, I mean, it's something that somebody had shared with me that I didn't understand until maybe 7 months later. Somebody told me, hey, you're going to suck at open houses the first one you do, and it's going to be terrible. And when she told me that, I said, what do you mean? I'm going to crush this. This is going to be awesome. And it went okay. I got some leads, but what she was saying that I didn't realize, and you can only see it in the rear view, is looking back, all these things I did, like I cringe just thinking about it. I'm like, holy cow, how did anyone hire me? But that's what you've got to do. You don't get better unless you pay that cost and that tax. So if you want to start any one of these things, just mentally know, hey, I'm going to suck for 6 months. I'm going to suck less the next six. I'm going to start to get momentum the next, and it's just you start to build on it, which is really cool and really special. And I think one of the main things that another coach told me is, volume negates luck. So you can literally fast forward your success. So if someone made 1,000 phone calls in a year, you can get through the same amount of pain because you have to get through it anyways in a month by making 1,000 calls in a month and just fast forwarding. So now you're at where they're at in a year and a month. So I think that's probably one of the biggest takeaways that when I'm looking at lead generation, I just want to know how hard could I front load this so that I could suffer. I'm fine suffering really bad, but I want it to be for a shorter time, selfishly. So that's one of the biggest things when you're learning any new lead generation pillar.
Couple more questions, and then I want to respect your time. Social media. Down.
Also, yes, I know what yellow pages are. I don't even know who said that. Yes.
Juan wants to know, when you do open houses, what prep work are you doing to ensure the highest conversion in traffic?
Great question, Juan. It's dependent on the amount of time you have. Obviously, if you're doing open houses, time is something you may have a little bit more of. And I'll answer that with an example of what I just taught one of my new guys to do. And it landed him 3 clients just from this, which doesn't happen every time, but I think it's a phenomenal example. If you've got the time, let's go for a Sunday open house, 2 to 4. I had him. His name's Jethro, great dude. He circle dialed, which for those of you that don't know, he literally pulled a list of all the neighbors and phone called them, which I see a couple people asking, how do you do that? Vulcan 7, download that, you can do it. But he just called the neighborhood, said, hey, I'm hosting an open house here essentially. Do you know of any people or any friends or family looking to move in the neighborhood? And then he just printed flyers walked all the doors. I think he set like 2 listing appointments while he was there, signed one, got another person who was looking to buy it, showed it to them. They offered on it. And outside of those 2 prep items, one, it's really essential. Make sure you're positioning it up early. And when I say that, I mean make sure it's on MLS and on the third-party consumer sites as being marketed that there is an open house days in advance. That's really important because if someone's looking to plan their weekend, they probably aren't, they may, but probably aren't going to do it spontaneously, an hour before it starts. They're probably going to, on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they're going to look at their schedule and go, okay, hey, honey, here are the ones we've got. Let's go here. Let's knock these out. So having a little bit of a timing notice there, putting some sweat equity, in this case, Jethro did some phone calls and some door knocking. And then the final thing is just simple touches like signage is actually a fairly big deal. In balloons in our market at least. So those really work. And if you want to get really techie, I've got another guy that we did some really cool targeted Facebook ad spend where you can geo fence, which simple terms, you can circle areas and you can blast advertise there. Those are some things that work well too. But if it's priced well and it's opening weekend, I think those are 2 really, really critical things. And you do what I just shared, that's going to really launch you forward quite a bit.
Asher, we want to say thank